What you camera talking about? Alright, so today we're going to be talking about, so how will I say this? I will say it like, consider moving on from the kit lens. Okay? This might not matter to you. It also maybe depends on the kind of work you're doing. But one thing that I think might be fair to say is when you see somebody using like a, like an older DSLR camera, one of the ones that maybe would have been at Best Buy or whatever electronics store, you kind of see people, and once you get more familiar with cameras, you get a bit more familiar with lenses and camera bodies and stuff. Like, let's say there's somebody walking around with like a Canon Rebel T7 or a T5i or T3i, whatever, kind of, that kind of range of camera, right? And they're walking around. How often do you see somebody using a kit lens with the camera? It might be pretty often, because they probably pick up the camera, they pick up the lens, and they just kind of stick with that. And they might not like change beyond that, because maybe they feel that they already spent enough money that they're good now and they don't want to spend any more money on it. That might be fair enough if it's just kind of a hobby thing, or you just want something that takes pictures that are a bit better than your phone did or whatever, right? So for them maybe it makes sense. But if you're looking at getting a little bit more serious about it, or trying to up the game of or up the quality of your stuff, consider a step in that direction being upgrading your lens, right? Because the kit lens is probably usually going to be something that's like an aperture 3.5 to 5.6. Probably the lens is not going to be good in a lot of low light scenarios unless you have like a really good full frame sensor, or just a really good sensor, whatever size it is, that's good in low light, which is going to be on more modern day cameras. So if you have like an older DSLR, it might be a rough time in the lower light scenarios, especially with the kit lens. So consider upgrading to a different lens, because some people, and even just like you can get into more of a niche debate on image quality from a lens, and kit lenses probably usually have more of the lower end of image quality. So maybe if you just want to get a little bit more of that certain something, maybe consider looking to if a lens will help with that, like a different lens. And so just look into maybe getting just like a solid prime lens or a solid zoom lens, whether it's like if you're using older Canon cameras, look at maybe like the 24-105 f4. I believe that's a USM lens. I could be wrong, but like the one with the little red ring on it. Anyway, so I believe they're ultrasonic lenses, I think is the branding on those lenses. Anyway, so consider upgrading to something like that, and then even just that might help to just, whatever. Super great analysis, right? Anyway, because how many people just kind of stick with that kit lens, and maybe it's like, man, the work could be made better, or more options, or more, zoom ability, or whatever, more bokeh, more background blur, whatever you want to get. If you would have just kept the camera but looked at a different lens or a set of lenses or whatever. So if that's something that you're maybe interested in doing, consider moving on from the kit lens. And maybe, I cannot guarantee that the quality difference will be surprising, but is it possible that maybe the quality difference might surprise you, especially if you go from using like the 3.5 to 5.6, 18 to 55 or whatever the kit lenses are, to going to like the Canon Nifty 50 EF 50mm f1.8 when you're doing portraits and stuff. Keep in mind that if you're on an APS-C lens or APS-C sensor, the crop factor, right, so that 50mm is going to be a bit more zoomed in. But like if you're taking portraits with that now, you might be like, wow, that's pretty nice, compared to what you came from using, right? So consider this. And consider, if you're looking to get a bit more serious with the camera stuff, consider one of the first steps being moving on from the kit lens. Alright, thanks for watching. Have a good one.